are reasons why a lot of folks don't trust God. And I have found that the most common is for those folks who have been through deep trauma at various points in their lives. Whether they saw mom go through it, dad go through it, siblings, or they themselves especially have gone through deep trauma. And then they're asking themselves now, they figure, listen, I couldn't depend on anybody but myself to get me out of that situation. So I can't trust God now. So maybe they come into faith now in Christ, and they've been ministered to, and their hearts get soft towards God, and they come into a relationship with Him. But they're so used to getting their own stuff done. And so trauma has caused a lot of people to get into this position where they can't really just trust God. God merits our trust. If you read John chapter 1, verse 1, it says clearly, and other parts of scripture, that you and I were made by God for Himself, for His glory. He made us to have relationship with us. He made us so that even though, and this is a thing that blows my mind, even though He knew beforehand that we were going to turn our backs on Him, He knew beforehand that we were going to insult Him, we were going to worship idols, we were going to put our jobs before Him, we were going to put our families before Him, we were going to put the sin that we love, we were going to put all of that stuff before Him, we were going to even insult Him. When you have been through that, you have a different perspective. So it says here in Zechariah chapter 4, verse 7, this is God talking about His servant, His son Zerubbabel. And He says, mountain, who are you? Before my son, I will make you a level plain. So in His relationship with you and I, we know that He is merciful. We know that He's a righteous judge. We know that the whole world is in the palm of His hand. The whole world is in the palm of His hand. So He is powerful, almighty. But the thing is, He has made a covenant to be there with you, even to the end of the ages. And He says, there is absolutely nothing that I wouldn't do for you on your behalf, because you are looking for this perfection in your walk with Him, and you think that He is good to you because of the good things that you do, but that's not how it works. God is not good to you because of the good things that you did. He is just good. That's why He is good to you and me. That's why you can trust Him. He is just good. You can't change His mind. You can't give Him a bad day. He knows everything that you're ever going to do, and yet He is madly in love with you. So here is the thing. God will move mountains. He did it in the book of Exodus when He got the Israelites. Forget all the miracles that happened in Egypt, but look at the journey through the Red Sea. God will part the sea for you. He will level mountains for you. And I shared a story with you guys about Naomi when she was working for a company here in Toronto many years ago. And for some weird reason, I don't know why, there were people there who just didn't like her. They didn't like her, said nasty things about her to management and all of that kind of stuff. It just wasn't going well. I mean, they would even throw things at her, but she didn't fight back. She talked about it, we prayed, and just let God be God. She didn't defend herself. Let me tell you something, people lost their jobs. She didn't report it to anybody, but people were demoted, people lost jobs, craziness like that. So I know for a fact, this is not just something that we've read in the scripture. I know for a fact that God will sack people from their jobs. He will demote presidents. He will actually change governments in a country because of you. Dusty here has a powerful testimony of how rules were changed in some organization specifically to accommodate her. We know for a fact that God will do this for His children. And He deserves our trust. It is so important. And the reason I'm harping on this is because you're saying, yes, all of this is great and good, but why should me, in my situation, why should I trust Him? And I'll give you 3 reasons why we should trust God. And that's really all we're going to talk about today. 3 reasons why we should trust God. And the first is that the love he has for us, it is a crazy kind of love. It is a love that makes no sense. Our reference for love in this part of, in the world today, is that, you see someone, let's say in a relationship with somebody else, not necessarily even your children, a relationship with somebody else. You see them, you're physically attracted, you get into this relationship, and then, a lot of us call that love, but the truth is really that it is really infatuation that begins, and sometimes it develops into love. But very often it stays at that level of infatuation, okay? And it doesn't really get into love, the kind of love relationship that we should have. And part of it is a lot of people come into relationships with a lot of baggage. A lot of people have hurts that they bring into relationships with. They come with all kinds of identities. I shared with you guys a story of the lady who was, when I was doing the television show with Yes TV, who called at the age of 3 years old. Her father was selling her body, 3 years old, 3. Her father was selling her body to his friends, all drug addicts. They would come and rape this 3-year-old kid, and then they would pay her father money. And it went on for years and years and years. Of course, when she called the program, she was in her 40s, and she had gone through all of that, and her mother was in the house. We're going to make reference to this story again when we get into radical witness, and I will have a different perspective then when we talk. Her mother was in the house when all of this was going on. And but at that point, of course, she had come into relationship with God, and her life was great. She was married, had 3 children. But of course, the pain, the memory, the painful memory was still there. And as she spoke, she cried, and I cried, and people were crying because, and you see, when you come into a relationship with God, a relationship with someone, and you put that kind of baggage with you, and you don't surrender it to God, I'm telling you, man, it is going to make a mess of any kind of relationship that you get into. You have to surrender it to him. You have to understand that he loves you enough to be willing. He's able, we know that, but he's also willing to take on the thing that is troubling you. That is why you can trust him. Anyone who can go to bat for you in that way, even when you do something wrong, that is a person that is trustworthy, and that's who this God is. Now, 3 reasons why you should love God, or why you can trust God, because his love for you is incredible. It makes absolutely no sense how there are parents that in parts of the world, they go and they do what do you call it, the scan that you do to determine whether you have a boy or a girl. There are parts in the world where if it's a girl, they terminate the baby. They murder the baby in the mother's womb and get rid of him, get rid of her. That's what happens. And I can tell you this, it's going to happen, if it's not happening already, where people will do the scan and they will be able to tell maybe the academic potential that a baby has in the womb. They may not see the intangibles, such as the ability to be deeply altruistic. So maybe someone who has a heart to change the world and to do good, like a Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr., those kind of people. You can't really tell how much of a sacrifice they're willing to make to change the world, you see. But maybe they'll be able to determine how academically powerful these children may be, how tall they may be, what is their genetic makeup, are they going to be obese or whatever the case may be. And there are people who would say, you know what, I don't want this trait, I don't want that trait. Okay, I'll take this one, I'll take this one. This is what is going to happen in the world.